Hi guys, welcome back to my page. So this topic is going to be a kind of difficult topic to get through just because of the nature of it. We're talking about hatred, which is an emotion, which is a state of being that isn't really, people kind of brush over hate. They kind of push it into the subconscious mind. They try to block it out. They don't want to really address the issue. They don't want to confront the fact that they have hate within them. So I'm holding my hands like this, by the way, because I just finished painting my nails. So I'm always messing up my nails when I'm painting. But all right, so I feel that this topic is important, is necessary, because it's a lot of men. It's a lot of men, unfortunately, that have hate in their heart towards their mothers. And like I said, this is not something that I think a lot of men will just come right out and admit to say that, yes, I hate my mother. I can't stand my mother. But a lot, not just black men, but men in general hate their mothers. And the hate is expressed in many different ways. So I'm going to get into that later on in the video. But I have to say that I was motivated to do this video after coming across a man, and this was years ago. I met this guy who he had a very unfortunate, story, right? Very unfortunate story. And it's, as is a lot of men, I work in the field of mental health, so I come across all kinds of people throughout my line of work, children, adults, and a lot of them just don't have they don't have the most fortunate circumstances. So this guy, he was telling me how he was born to a family. It was really tough for him because his mother was a single mother. And as he was telling me the details of the story, he was saying that he recalled having to do things that he felt a child should not be doing. And I think, this issue goes deeper than race, of course. It kind of taps into socioeconomic status, it taps into politics, it taps into our historical background, with slavery and the socio-political structure that we live in today that, obviously impacts the structure of the black family. So this isn't just a cut and dry issue to say that, oh, black mothers ain't shit, or, we're not pointing fingers at anybody. That's not what this video is about, but I kind of do want to address it from a more professional, I'm going to approach this topic very, cautiously, because I know that there are men out there who are affected by this, and we're talking about hate. We're talking about an issue of hate, you guys. This thing is very systemic. It's very multi-layered. So it's not that these men just have hate towards their mother, but they have hatred towards black women. It becomes this generalized hate that they have, and they project out towards black women. But it starts, we're going to look at it from the context of the family. I can go bigger, of course, and look at it from the socio-political context, but I think I talk about the culture and our context in which we live in very often. So I kind of want to zero in and really focus on the context of the family, the home environment in which this child, this black boy who becomes a man eventually, has been nurtured in. Now, we know when a child grows up in a very healthy environment where there's love, there's affection, there is stability. You get what I'm saying? To the point where the person doesn't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from. There's a sense of safety, security, love. That's a normal, healthy environment. Versus, a household where a child grows up in and it's unstable. He's growing up in a single parent household where there's no man in the household, there's no father, there's no sense of stability, There's no sense of security. That is gone. You know, the woman is struggling. And I have to say this, that we have to understand that the context in which a child is raised in, the context in which a child develops in, is very important, because it's the first 5 years of life that really set the trajectory for this child's future. It really sets the blueprint. It lays the foundation for this child. Every time I get ready to do a video, I get pop-up messages, but it lays the foundation for who this child is going to grow and develop and become to be. There has been a lot of research on this, on attachment theory, saying based on how the attachment of the child when they are younger, within the first 5 years, their attachment to their mother, so whether the attachment is secure, is insecure, it's avoidant. Based on that attachment, one can predict how they are going to be as an adult, how they're going to relate to other people as adults. So it's no surprise when you see a man who has unstable relationships with women, who has this love-hate relationship towards women, specifically black women. There's no surprise that that same relationship as an adult, that he has as an adult, is a reflection of the relationship that he had as a child with his caretaker, his primary caretaker, the person who raised him, the person who shaped the very essence of his being. Within the first 5 years of life, those years of life are so important. So when we look at the context of a single parent household, and the mother, a black mother, is the head of that household, and it's missing a father. And not only is it missing a father, but the woman herself is engendered with hatred towards the father because of the abandonment, Like, I think we sometimes underestimate the impact of an absentee father in a household. It's not so much that he's just an absentee father towards a child. He's absentee towards the mother of that child. We somehow miss that importance. So when there's an absentee father / husband who is not in the household, and his mother is faced with the abandonment of having to raise her child by herself, with the uncertainty of how this is going to go. You get what I'm saying? Like, people underestimate this. It is so important. And you hear a lot of complaints from black men who attack black women, to say, oh, black women, turn towards the white man, and the white man is taking care of, the children. Why is it that the black woman pushes the black man out of the house and invites the government in to take care of the child? And I think that's a very interesting way of looking at that, because essentially it's like these men are putting the power in the hands of the woman. They're giving the woman the power to say, this woman has the power to do this. They feel powerless in the situation. They don't feel as though it was their choice of the matter to be an absentee father, to be an absentee husband in the household. It's not their responsibility. That is not within their control, as a lot of men see it. African American men see it. They see it as though they were pushed out of their house by the black woman, so to the point that they have no say-so in that child's life. They don't have a place in that household. I think that perspective is it tells us a lot. It's so revealing, because like I said, it points to the fact that these men feel very powerless. They feel like they have no control over the matter. When you think about African identity, being able to provide for one's family is so important. And not just African identity, but that's just humanity. But specifically within the African culture, it's really important that a man is able to take control, is able to be the head person in charge of the household. When that ability is taken away from him, or is compromised within his life, that's a threat to his identity. That's a threat to who he is. So we're talking about a household that does not have a father, that does not have a husband, that is raised by a single mother. And don't get it mistaken. Black women are raising their kids, yes, by themselves, right? But can we say that isn't the ideal type of situation? What's best, not only just for the mother, but what's best for the child, what's best for the whole entire family, and essentially the Black community. When a single mother feels like she's been abandoned, and you see Black women, they look bitter, and they have this narrative towards African American men about how they feel. They're just keeping it real. They're making it known Black men ain't shit. Black men are dogs. They ain't no good. They have all of these different preconceived notions and these ideologies that they develop surrounding their perspectives on Black men based on their experiences with these men. More specifically, these experiences with men who have impregnated them, and have abandoned their responsibility to the mother, to the child, and to the family, and essentially to the African American community. So I find it interesting when you look at how this dynamic here and what's happening. African American women, the mothers will say they feel abandoned. The African American fathers will say they've been kicked out of their homes. And the Black woman has turned towards the white man for support. So it's like, who's going to take responsibility for this? Everybody is playing the victim. How can we advance ourselves within our households, within our family units, and more importantly, within our communities? How can we advance ourselves if no one wants to take responsibility for this divide that we have? It starts within the family. When you see children who are acting out in school, we say this so often. A lot of times parents want to blame the school for their child's poor academic performance. But we know everything starts in the home. It goes back to the home. And again, that brings me back to my point that the way a child begins to develop a sense of the world, a sense of who they are, it starts within the home. So this woman, this mother, is having all these negative feelings, negative emotions surrounding this abandonment that she has, this burden of responsibility, because a child is a blessing, but it can become more of a burden when a mother has to raise this child by herself without the help of a man that she expects to be there. It's one thing if a woman goes into a situation where she says, okay, you know what? I just want a child out of this deal. I don't necessarily expect a man to be there. I just want a child. And she gets the outcome, what she expects. But for women, which a lot of women they don't expect a man just to knock them up and say, all right, peace out. Although a lot of women do make the joke about, oh, Black men are just sperm donors. But realistically speaking, no woman really desires that. Desires for a man to just dump his sperm in her, pregnate her, and just go off on his way. And especially continue this cycle and continue to do to other women what he's done to her. No woman necessarily expects that. So she's feeling disappointed, let down, hurt, abandoned, rejected, She's feeling all of these negative emotions, and she has to live and sit with these emotions. Meanwhile, she's raising this little baby. Every time I do a live video, I get these pop-up notifications. But she's having this responsibility to raise this little baby with all of these emotions. Don't you think those emotions are going to impact that child? whatever she's experiencing is going to impact the child, just as when the child is in a mother's womb. Everything the mother eats, what she feels inside, what she's experiencing, the child is impacted by that. So when you look at the home environment, metaphorically speaking, as the womb of that child, whatever the mother is experiencing, the child is also going to experience. The child is also going to develop these emotions within them at such an early age. They're going to be bitter. They're going to be angry. They're going to take on these emotions that the mother is experiencing, essentially. There's no way around it. The mother is a primary caretaker, and she's angry all the time. Imagine, just imagine what kind of child she's going to produce. You think the child is going to be happy all of a sudden because the mother is angry? No. If she's walking around the house and when the child gets older, right, as the child begins to develop and the child is becoming a toddler and beginning to learn language and understand language, and his mother is saying these negative things, they're negative, but they're honest because she's speaking her mind. She's pouring out her heart about how she feels about her no good baby daddy. And she makes it known to her child how she feels about this no good man that's not shit. She talks to her girlfriends in front of her child about how she feels about the child's father while the child is there. He ain't shit. You get what I'm saying? Subconsciously, the child is taking all of that stuff in. All of that stuff in. When a child is that young, a child doesn't understand separation, doesn't understand why parents separate, why they don't have a father there, but they have a mother, and they look around and see other kids have both a mother and a father, and they don't have a mother and a father. A child begins to internalize that and begins to sense that something is wrong. If the child is only exposed to the mother most of the time anyway, guess what is going to shape that child's perception of the father? The mother's perception is going to shape that. And not only that, you take a child who's very innocent. Again, like I said, a child does not know what's going on. They don't understand the context of the separation of the divorce. And all they see is an angry, bitter mother. They don't see the father. So they can't really make a formulation as to, oh, this man is a bad man. They just see the mother being so angry. So imagine how that could create this ideology in the child's mind that something is wrong with the mother. Something is wrong with my mother, that she is keeping me from seeing my father. I think a lot of times African American fathers who don't get a chance to see their children, they worry about the possibility of the child rejecting them, the child not wanting to say anything to them, wanting to communicate, wanting to have a relationship with them. They worry about these. These are realistic concerns, that make them anxious. But you can look at it on one side of the token, that these kids, they're innocent. And what their viewpoint is shaped by is their overall experience with the mother. So if they're only around this bitter, angry mother who is pouring out these negative remarks towards them in regards to their father, they are going to develop this hatred. They're going to internalize all of that hate. Whether it's overt hate, right? Where a person is directly saying, I hate you, I can't stand you. They're verbalizing it. Or whether it's just subtle hate that you can tell this person does not like or hates, or has a bitter disdain for another person. If the father comes around and the child is looking at the mother's, observing how the mother responds and interacts with the father of this child, and it's in a negative way, that child is going to be able to observe and internalize that and formulate their own opinion about what's going on. A lot of times, these children develop a hatred towards their mothers at a very early age. So it doesn't have to develop and come about when a child is already an adult. It doesn't have to. Sometimes, a lot of times, that's when you see it is more prevalent, right? You can easily see that it's more manifested when a child has reached the age of an adult. There's no way to hide that. But when a child is very young, sometimes it's hard to be able to pick up on certain things, to be able to see how a child feels towards a certain parent. But there are ways to be able to tell if a child has this. It may not be all the way hate, right? It may not have already taken the form of hate as we can understand hate, but you can see how this child is being impacted in a negative way by his mother's. Sorry, you guys. I had to reposition myself. You can tell that this child has been negatively impacted by his mother's expressions, verbal expressions or even nonverbal expressions, in front of the child towards the father. It's really unfortunate. And then this child begins to develop this perception of the mother as this bitter, mean, cruel person that hated their father, who they never got a chance to see. The mother is trying so hard to convince the child that no, you need to hate your father. When really what happens, the child ends up hating the mother. It's like the mother is making every attempt to try to pour these negative thoughts into the child about their father. And the child is like subconsciously, not even aware that they are already developing their own opinion, their own perspective of the mother. And it's not a good one. Eventually, these children, as time progresses, the bitterness grows stronger, and then after a while, bitterness becomes hatred. They become bitter. So in the bitterness, you may see a child acting out. They act out not because they're bad kids, but they're crying out for attention. They need attention. That's why they're acting out. You see kids that are having temper tantrums in stores and flipping out and calling their mom out their name. You hear kids that do that. Well, kids would hit their mom. They're angry towards their mother. And it's not about, oh, they didn't get a piece of candy. That she's not giving them buying them a piece of candy in the store. It goes deeper than that, mothers, fathers. You see these children acting out. They're acting out because they have these negative emotions inside. They don't know what to do with it. They got all this stuff that's mothered and poured into them because a mother is a primary caretaker. So what you see in a child, yes, people like to blame absentee fathers and say, oh, it's because the father isn't there. Dr. Umar Johnson came up with this term called ain't no daddy at home disorder. Basically the synonym for ADHD. And he says that these kids are acting out because the daddy isn't home. But how about the kids are acting out because the mother has poured into this child all of these negative things? They don't know what to do with it. They're trying to figure out how do I function? You created this neurosis in the child, this psychosis in the child, and they're just acting this stuff out. And we're talking about men who grow up. So, children eventually grow up to become men who hate their mothers. This is not to say all black men hate their mothers. I know you're probably surprised, like, what the hell is this topic about? But no, I'm not saying all black men hate their mothers. Yes, we can easily create a video about black men who love their mothers, who take care of their mothers. There's a lot of black men, but we cannot overlook the reality. You get what I'm saying? A lot of times we like to We like to push the bad under the rug, right? It's like, let's not look at that, right? Let's let that fix itself. And let's focus on the good that we do, right? The good. But how can we improve and make better what's wrong if we don't focus on what is wrong? We have to take a look. It's a painful look. We don't want to take a look at it, but it's real. You say whitewash for real. It's bad. This is not about race, you guys. This is about when children grow up in a certain environment. The focus, yes, is on Black mothers, Black children, Black families. That is my target focus. But you can see this across many different cultures. So, of course, we're not just saying, oh, this only happens in the Black community. And I feel like that's a defense mechanism. When Black people say, oh, well, this isn't, why are you talking about Black people? We're talking about Black people because I'm Black. I have a passion for the African American community. I have a passion for all people, but yes, I think I have a special interest in the African American community. So when I make videos about Black this, Black that, and I highlight some of the negative things that are happening within our community, it's not to say that, oh, we're ignoring what's happening in the white communities. Yes, their issues are just as prevalent, right? But this is a very targeted issue towards a certain targeted group of people. It's very specific, and our manifestations of what's wrong with our community it comes from a different context than when we talk about white issues. So all of this is taken into the context of the socio-political structure that we live within. It's very difficult to digest. It's very difficult to swallow. But this is the truth, you guys. A lot of Black men don't want to admit this. I get it. A lot of Black men who hate their mothers, but how can you come to a position of health and love unless you look at what's wrong? It's very difficult to say you hate your mother. You have this hatred towards Black women, but it's very apparent, like a lot of people live in denial. The thing is, as I was saying, Black men, Black kids growing up in this environment where they are poured all of these negative images, these negative attitudes towards Black men are poured into these little children by Black mothers, because this is what the mother is experiencing. So as it's a common phrase that they say in our field, sharing is caring in terms of mental health. People have these neurotic things that are happening within them, and they can't contain it. So you have to let it go, right? If you're angry, you can't keep that anger inside. You have to project that anger out. You get what I'm saying? That's how people are able to cope with these uncomfortable feelings that they have. They project it out onto other people. When a child is raised in this kind of environment, where an African American mother feels abandoned by her child's father because he has abandoned his responsibility. She feels let down, betrayed. What do you think happens? That negative energy has to go somewhere. Energy is neither lost nor destroyed. That negative energy has to go somewhere, and unfortunately the child takes the brunt of it, and it's a repetitive cycle that continues. The child absorbs all of this negative energy. As I said initially, it may manifest itself as bitterness. The child is acting out. The child has this resistance. And then before you know it, this bitterness has evolved into a hatred, towards the mother, unfortunately. You see children, I'm talking about sons, Black sons, resisting their mothers is for a reason. You get what I'm saying? A child will respond to a mother how they feel the mother has treated them, usually. If a mother shows affection, care, love towards this child, the child is going to respond in an affectionate manner. If a child feels that they have been betrayed, that the mother is an unfit mother, trust and believe, you're going to see that within that child. That child is going to have a reaction towards the mother in a negative way. And I was motivated to do this video, as I said, based on a story from a man that I heard in my experiences in this field. This man, he was so broken, so abused. And it wasn't physical abuse, it wasn't sexual abuse, but it was more psychological abuse by his mother. I'm talking about an African American man. And this is just one story, but there are many stories. And he talked about how he struggled with the fact that his mother, he felt that his mother was to blame for why his father didn't do what he was supposed to do in terms of being a father. He blamed his mother because he felt like had his mother put her foot down, had his mother had set higher expectations in their marriage, in the relationship that she had with his father, the father would be there. So this kid, over time, developed a hatred towards the mother. He said he would, as a child, have to do things that he believed a child should not be doing. You know, like having to go get groceries, having to go and do things that he felt a father should be doing, you know, or a mother should be doing, a parent should be doing, but not a child. As he's felt that he didn't have a childhood, you know, essentially that's what I'm saying. That he was forced to do things that a child should not be doing. He grew up at a very early age, and for that reason, because of that, he developed this hatred towards his mother. And when he was young, he didn't know it was hatred. He was just acting out. But over time, when he became older and was developed, you know, the cognitive abilities to be able to decipher what was going on, to be able to understand and comprehend what happened during his childhood, he realized that this hatred that he had towards his mother stemmed from his expectation of his mother towards his father. He expected his mother to do something towards his father that she didn't do. He felt that because of that, he ended up having to take the role of the father. He felt that it was the mother who pushed the father away. This is a grown man saying this, you know, but the child in him is saying this, you know. Yes, we age, right? And we become 30, you know, reach our 30s or reach our 40s, we become adults. And when we speak, we think, okay, we're speaking as adults, right? Because of our chronological age, our biological age. But in fact, a lot of times we're speaking as a child. It's a little child within us. It's our psychological age that really is important in this context, you know. And this man was speaking, the little child in him was saying, this is what I wanted. I wanted my father, and I felt you pushed my father away. Now, somebody tell me, how in the hell can a child feel that it's a mother's fault why a father is absentee? They say children are not dumb, right? Children know more than we give them credit for. They know. So that led me to wonder, what did the mother do? What happened in the household? A lot of times we like to point fingers at the man. You know, we say, oh, men ain't shit. Black men, black fathers ain't nothing. But I'm wondering, there are always two sides to a story. I wonder, what is it? And that the child saw, that the child witnessed by the mother, that led this child, this black child who is now a man, develop this perspective about his mother to the point where he has hatred. And then now as an adult, because the hate has festered and it has grown so deep within his core of his being, he can't even get up the nerve to go visit his mother. He doesn't want to visit his mother. He doesn't talk to his mother. Having a conversation with his mother on the phone is very painful. It's very difficult because he has engendered all of these negative emotions, and these emotions have been living with him. They have shaped the core of his being. They have shaped his personality. They have laid the template, the blueprint for how he interacts with people. Like, this thing is very complex. It's very multi-layered and dynamic, you guys. And sometimes people think that, oh, it's just, you look at a cause and effect relationship and you see, okay, A caused B, and then that's it. Not even seeing that there are so many different other factors that play a role in the picture. Yes, the father could be absent, but what else is going on in the household? What else is this child being exposed to by the mother? What else is the mother saying to the child that leads the child to hate his mother? What is it? We don't want to talk about that. I feel like African Americans don't want to talk about it. We don't want to be honest about what's happening. We want to talk about everybody else's problems except our own, you know? Because for so long, this is how we've learned to function. When we have issues in the African American community and we find ways of coping and adapting to those issues, and then it works for us, it doesn't mean that that's secure. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that everything is A-okay. It just simply means that we found a maladaptive way of functioning. That's what you call dysfunctional. You get what I'm saying? And like I said, I'm speaking towards African American people because I care. This video, we can easily change the title and say why white men hate their mothers. So don't look at the title and assume, oh, this is an attack against black mothers, or this is trying to call out black men. It's like, you being a black man, I'm sure you're feeling defensive, but that's an impulse. The defense that you feel is only an impulse. And I want to say, before you be so quick to respond to that impulse, to act on that impulse, pause and think about something. Pause, take a deep breath, because sometimes when we respond, to these impulses, we're just acting out our emotions. We're not really thinking out stuff. We're just acting out. So take a time and to understand what I'm really trying to say, what I'm really communicating in this video. It's not about pointing and singling out any race or demographic of people, but it is me showing my compassion, my concern with regard to a certain segmented group of people who I care about. I'm a part of the black community. So someone says whitewash. There's nothing whitewashed about this topic. This is really important, you guys. We don't want to talk about it, but this is something that we should talk about, and it's just me bringing awareness to the issue. It's not like it's something that you guys don't know about. You guys know the truth. This is just me bringing the truth to the forefront, which I understand is very difficult. So hence the reason why you guys feel a need to be defensive, But, it's not, like I said, it's not to point fingers, but it's just to say, consider this, consider the fact that, yes, we have a lot of different issues going on, a lot of different factors that are affecting the African American community, and they're all happening all at the same time. You got men who, for whatever reason, as the single mother sees it, abandons their child. You have women, for whatever reason, as a father sees it, pushes a man away and brings the white man in, aka the government, to force the man to pay child support. You have kids acting out in school. You have young men turning towards selling drugs and committing crimes and being a part of a gang as a way to go. you know, all of these different factors. No one is pointing fingers at anybody. We're just discussing issues that affect the African American community. It's not to say this person is to blame, but we're to dissect the problem. You have to look at different aspects of the problem, the different factors that come into play. So we cannot ignore the fact that if a child, we're talking about a black male child specifically, being raised by a black mother, that is a contributing factor. Not the fact that she's black. So don't let it go over y'all head, because sometimes what I say and what you guys hear is two different things, which is very likely to happen because you have your own filter. You get what I'm saying? So when you see people and they look like they're trolling or they have their own perspective, and some people say, oh, look at them, they hating because they have a different perspective than the person on a post. Sometimes it's not so much hate. Sometimes it's simply what you're saying and how they received it is much different. A person who is creating a video, a person who's communicating something, they're just a messenger. They're trying to communicate a certain message to the masses. And then when people they take this message in, what the message that people take in sometimes is accurate, it's on point, and meaning in line with what the person said. And sometimes it ain't got nothing to do with the person said, because that person who is receiving the message is going through a filter in their brain. You take it in through your ears, and that message goes to your brain. The brain has so many different cognitive schemas that work as filters that shape the information that you take in, you know? And that's how we get opinions, right? That's the whole point of the word itself, opinion, or perspective, because that's your perspective. So when people make comments on videos and they're different, I look at it as that's just that person's perspective. That's not necessarily saying that they got what I've said. They may say, oh, well, you said this, and I'm reading and I'm like, I did not say that. That's not my perspective, but that's unfortunately your perspective. This topic is really important and it needs to be discussed. And I think sometimes we kind of bounce around the issue, but we cannot ignore the fact that the black mother is a contributing factor, and what she says to the child, how she communicates her feelings to the child, how she expresses it non-verbally and in subtle manners. She may not say, fuck your daddy, but she can say it in so many different ways. And the child picks that up. The child is absorbing all of that energy, Like I said, even based on the interactions, when the child comes to visit and the child watches this interaction the mother has with the father, and the child is looking at the mother roll her eyes and have the energy. She don't even have to say anything. And a lot of times don't even do anything. I think and that's the reason why I think I put the label black, because I want to target it towards a certain group of people, because we are different people. Black people are different than white people, We operate, I think, at a different frequency level, in terms of spiritually. So even research has backed this up to say that when black communication is just different amongst black people. White people use a lot of words when they communicate. Black people, on the other hand, we don't sometimes have to say nothing. We could just look, and it's a certain type of energy that is transferred between people. We can just sit here and exist and be in front of a person and not say nothing, but we can pick up and communicate. So many different messages are being transferred and being communicated. It's almost like a fifth sense or a sixth sense that black people have in communication. So a black mother don't have to say nothing verbally, don't even have to communicate nothing, even non-verbally, with her body language, but her energy is being communicated to the child in front, her energy is being communicated to the child's father in front of the child, non-verbally. It's just like more happening on a spiritual level. And guess what? the father is picking up on that energy, and the child is picking up on that energy. I mean, like I said, we don't give children enough credit, but children know what's going on. So no words don't even have to be exchanged. The mother can just meet with the father at a certain designated time and place. Have the child's book bag and um, the luggage pack, for the weekend or for the week or however long the child is going to stay, and be like, here's your child, and don't even say nothing. Don't even have to say what she's feeling. Inside, she may be feeling like this motherfucker ain't shit, this piece of shit, but she don't even necessarily have to say that verbally or even non-verbally. She can be having a smile on her face and verbally say, have a good day. But her spirit, her energy is communicating something different. You know? That goes into this whole thing about this whole construct of intelligence, which is kind of a different topic, but it kind of reminds me of that because, in our society, according to the white dominant structure, they measure intelligence by verbal ability. But I think that's only one aspect. It's like verbal ability is a very important factor in measuring intelligence. It's high, it's heavily weighted. Heavily, you can't even talk right, yeah. Heavily weighted in terms of measuring intelligence. But I think they overlook those subtle things, those things that research can't even measure. You get what I'm saying in terms of the energy transfer between people that communicates a certain type of language. So yes, you have mothers who try their hardest. They're doing their best. They do their best not to verbally say things in front of their children that is going to have a shape this child's mind in a negative way regarding their father, because they figure, okay, I want this child to develop their own perception of their father. I don't want to impose how I feel, how I think about this man, even though, it didn't work out between me and him. You have, some others who really honestly feel that way. And they say, you know what, I'm not going to pour negative things and negative thoughts into this child. But it's inevitable, because if you feel that on the inside of you, that energy, that child is going to pick up on that energy, whether you consciously or purposely want to do this or not. That child is going to pick up on that energy that you have. And I think that's why it's important that even single Black mothers go to therapy. Therapy isn't a bad thing. It's just a place that you can work through these issues, And it's not to say that therapy is going to be the quick fix to anything either, to say that, okay, all of a sudden you're going to just feel this positive vibe towards the father of your children, and you're going to just love him unconditionally, even after he left you and abandoned his responsibility, but there still is a possibility. The possibility that, with time and commitment to the process of therapy, one can be able to develop good energy, good vibes, so that that energy is translated into good words, positive affirmations that they speak to their child and, to the father of their child, and they forgive, they let go. You guys understand the importance of forgiveness. They talk about it in church a lot. Forgiveness. I think, a lot of times we don't even realize how we will forgive white people what they've done historically and are continue to do. But it's so hard to forgive each other. It's so hard for men and women to forgive each other because we are imperfect beings. We don't do everything right. Nobody does. No human being is perfect, right? But it's so difficult what I'm seeing for men and women to just forgive each other. There's a whole bright side of life after forgiveness. When you reach to the point where you can actually let go of this pain. It's not to say, okay, automatically you're going to forgive a person. No, because I think it's an adaptive mechanism and purpose that unforgiveness serves, to really hold a person accountable for what they did, and for you to react and respond in such a way that you're honest with yourself about how you feel about the situation, because it's not right for a child to be abandoned, or a family, or a mother of a child to be abandoned, to be left alone, to do something by herself that she didn't create by herself, you know. But we also have to not undermine the importance of developmental process and being able to move forward, you know, and being able to move forward is being able to reframe how you see a certain issue that is affecting your life, how you're able to cope with, to live with, to come to an acceptance of something that you necessarily didn't plan for. You didn't expect this to happen in your life. You didn't think that you would run into this situation where you would fall in love with someone, and 10 years later you'll be facing them in court and forcing them to pay you child support. That's a very uncomfortable situation to be in. And I'm a woman, African American woman, yes, but I don't have any kids. I'm not a mother yet, but I can only imagine how embarrassing, how degrading one must feel to have to force a person to take care of responsibility that they help create. And not only that, that you expected this person, that you had this idea that you and this person were going to be together, you're going to spend forever together, and then you find that the opposite is true, that it doesn't happen that way. And not only do you guys not spend forever together, but that they put this thing in you, a responsibility, and left you alone with it to take care of it. It's very unfortunate. And you have women who retaliate. It's like it's no surprise why you have women who retaliate against the men, the fathers of their children, because they feel entitled. And should they be entitled? Yes. A black woman should be entitled. I remember I did this video, and this is just recently I did this video, and someone commented, this black guy commented on the post, and he was like, he don't think that black women should be worshipped. He was like, oh, black women, they just want to be worshipped. They want you to appreciate them and take care of them. And he's like, he's not up for that. He's not up for bowing down to a black woman and treating her like the queen that she is. And I'm like, wow. It doesn't sound like a man who values black women. It doesn't sound like that. And then he tried to give a reason for why. He tried to justify his perspective, which he has, I'm pretty sure, justification in his mind for why the black woman should be disrespected, should be treated like she's just an average human being. And we're not just talking about any random black person. We're talking about the mother of your child. You get what I'm saying? We're talking about a woman that you fell in love with, that you are involved with. That's the context for the conversation. And he's just like, oh, he don't think that black women are that special to be catered to in that kind of fashion. And like I say that sounds like a man who doesn't value black women. And I know it goes deeper than a man just not valuing black women. It really goes back to a man not valuing his mother. There is a direct correlation between how a man treats his mother, how a man perceives his mother, and how he perceives black women altogether. Yes, we know the media plays a role in helping shape the mind of a black man with regard to black women and how they should view black women. But if anybody has the most impact on a man's mind, come on, you guys. If any man has the bigger impact. Yes, we know media is powerful. That it is. But media comes on later on down the road. Yes, children are exposed to media when, they're kids and watching cartoons. That's one thing, right? Commercials. But even that, the mother has control over. You get what I'm saying? So as I was saying, there's any person in a man's life that has the most impact on the way he sees and views black women, it's his own mother. She's the foundation. She is the foundation for how he sees other black women. It's very unfortunate. This topic is very multi-layered. Like I said, it's very complicated. If you guys have perspectives, feel free to comment. Like, just share your perspective. Don't drop one word. Don't drop two words. Communicate. Express yourself. Articulate what you feel, what you're thinking. In a comment. If you feel comfortable enough to share it, share it. That's how you feel. A lot of times I know people will respond out of impulse. So they hear something, a person may say something that triggers something, right? Not that, the person who is delivering the message intentionally tried to say something to cause that person to have a trigger reaction. But we know, even in the context of addictions, a person can have all kinds of trigger. Anything can be a trigger. A white bunny rabbit can be a trigger for a person. You get what I'm saying? The smell of cologne can be a trigger. So a person delivering a message may not even know these are triggers for that other person who's receiving the message. And people will be triggered to respond, and they jump to conclusions, and they say something, and being that your phone is at the tip of your fingertips, it's right there. When you comment, you can type, and then boom, you post it, and it's out in the universe. So yes, I always encourage people to think before they comment, right? But if it's something that's really pressing on your mind, you get what I'm saying? Like if it's something that is really pressing on your mind and you really want to get it out, go ahead. Say it. You get what I'm saying? Say what you got to say. Say what you got to say, because I know, there are many ways in looking at this topic and many perspectives on the topic. But I'm just sharing with you guys my perspective on it. Sorry, I got to get comfortable. I'm just sharing with you guys like my perspective on this topic. And, this is coming from many years of working in mental health. This is coming from just testimonials from men that I've come across, who are in pain, and from men who just have this negative view towards black women. And it's I think black women feel hurt when the black man has this negative view towards them. But if anything, who's hurting the most is a person who has to sit with that hate. It's one thing to be hated on, right? It's one thing to be hated on. But to be the person who has this hate in them, you have this hate. Again, like I said, hatred is bitterness manifested at its highest capacity, right? When a person is bitter, they're feeling irritated. They're feeling bothered. They're feeling annoyed. They're feeling even disgusted, right? But when that bitterness festers, and it brews and it simmers, and it has time to evolve and grow, you get what I'm saying? We're talking about concepts, but these things are like real energies that exist within people. If you're you're religious, you look at it as a spirit, so hate can be conceptualized as a spirit that lives in a person, and it grows and it develops and it morphs into something else, so bitterness is a friend of hatred. They're not enemies, they're friends. They hang out together. You get what I'm saying? And when a person has this hatred in them, that's a heavy burden to have to live with, Because the hatred is not just that you have hatred towards a behavior. You get what I'm saying? A behavior is something that can change. You have hatred towards a person. We know how difficult it is for people to change. You know, that ain't happening. So to have hate towards something that you have no control over, imagine having to live and sit with that. You can't even change it. You get what I'm saying? You can't even do anything about it, but you just have this hatred in you that is just is living in you. The only thing you can do is project it out. You can't even do anything about it, but express it in the best way you know how, and you project this hatred out, like I said, not only towards one person, who resembles your mother, where you first learned the hate. It's not that you learned it watching a cartoon, or you learned it in school sitting in Miss Johnson's class, who so happens to be a white teacher, you know, or you learned it on a school bus. You learn hate at such a very young age. You don't even know it, that you're learning it. Observe and study. If you guys have time and you're around kids, you just take the time to observe children and the interactions with their parents. Like, you'll be amazed how much a child can pick up. I mean, most of you guys are parents, so you guys know. But I think me being a person who's not a parent, like, I absorb it. I pay attention to more things, more details of the interaction, because I know it's fascinating to me. It's like I don't know. It's like let's say you're new to a city, right? You're visiting a city. Now, the people who live there, it's like they're comfortable with it. They're used to certain things. So they may even notice. They may even have taken notice to a museum that's been there for years, that a visitor may come to that city and be like, wow, I went to this place, I went to that place, and they got a whole list of things, places they want to visit within that city, that natives of that city ain't even know existed, right? So I think the same thing happens like with me when I'm observing parent interaction with children. It's like parents, you have children, it's like you're in it, right? You're in the middle of the battlefield, and I'm sure you have a certain perspective, a certain insight that I don't have, especially not being a parent. But from the outside looking in, there are certain perspectives that people can see that you may not be able to see. So it's just, it's not that it's, what's true or false or wrong or right. It's different perspectives. You get what I'm saying? And filmmaking is not so much, oh, this is right, this is the right shot, this is the wrong shot. It's just a different perspective of the view that you're trying to catch. You get what I'm saying? It's just a different perspective of it. When you go from this way and you come at it from this angle, then you see that perspective. You go from a different angle, this another perspective. So John says, why is it that women, not all, but a lot, feel they should have some special consideration that applies to all of them simply because of gender? All black mothers are not good mothers. Hold on. All black mothers are not good mothers. Relationships do not fall apart on their own, and you're not entitled to a man life blood because you're a buried child. Childbirth is a natural act. It's what the female form was designed for. There will never be consensus between men and women on this topic because women continuously take and give nothing in return and then believe they should be worshipped like some kind of goddess or vanity. Even that statement that you're saying, it tells a lot about who you are, John, and how you were raised, and your view on towards women. Not all black men, ladies, think that you're a goddess. In fact, they think that you're just like any other woman. You have a womb, and that's what you're supposed to do, bear children. That's it. So I think single women going into relationships should keep that in mind. Because if you know that a man only views you as a person, an object that is designed to give birth to a being, but they don't see you valued at anything more than that. Like I say, what you see is what you get. So you have to be thankful for a man who shares his perspective with you. If you got men, it's in our culture. They say it in music. You hear men talking about it. You overhear men conversations. You out in public, walking down the street, wherever you at, and standing in line. You hear men, their perspectives on women. And they're like, why do black women think that they should be entitled to these things, when they shouldn't? But I think that I'm so gravitated to these kinds of topics because I'm exposed to all kinds of people. So not only am I exposed to the black community, but I'm exposed to white men, the white community. I'm exposed to so many different cultures, and I talk to people, you guys. Like when I say I'm a researcher at heart, I'm a researcher at heart because I feel like I'm on a quest for knowledge, for understanding. It's not limited for me to a book. A lot of times people say, oh, well, you working towards your PhD, so you love to read, huh? And I'm like, reading is old school. It's not to say reading is bad. Reading, my life began with reading. I was young. Before I started school, I would read. Love to read. Love, love, love to read. That's like my number one hobby. It's no surprise that I created a nonprofit organization that promotes authors who write books. It's about reading. Reading is so fundamental, but it's more to it than just reading books. You get what I'm saying? It's more to knowledge and understanding than just reading. So my level of understanding extends beyond the book knowledge, right? And I immerse myself around different people from different cultures. And when I talk to people, Asians, when I talk to white people, when I talk to Latinos, like you hear different perspectives. Generally speaking, you hear different perspectives. So I find it interesting where you may have some black men who say they don't think that black women are worth worshiping. It's like, why are we worshiping them? Why are we appreciating black women? But then you go across the bridge and you go to talk to some white people, and we're not talking about white people's perspectives of what black people should be doing. We're talking about white people's perspective of their own family, right? How they see their own women. And you have white men that I think this is shocking to some black people, but you have white men who come with a totally different perspective. And this perspective could be stemming from the fact that, yes, they have more money. They are from a different socioeconomic status. So they're able to, the things that I'm about to tell you that some white men will say with regard to their perspective on how they should, their role, in the family, it may be mind blowing to you guys, but it's stemming from, they're just different. We're talking about two different types of people cut from two different kinds of cloth, so like, I think sometimes black women, when they see black men make comments such as John just made on this video, it's like they feel, like offended by it. And it's just like, no, you have to, that's his perspective, but it's not just, I think, his perspective. A lot of African American men think like this. A lot of African American men don't think that the black woman is more than just a dumping ground for sperm. She has a womb. That's her role. Why should she be valued or appreciated more than just what she is? Why should she be given credit for more than that's what she's expected to do? Essentially, I think that's what he's trying to say. That's what women are expected to do. So why all of a sudden a black woman gotta be valued more than what she's supposed to do? And I think sometimes we miss the point, because that's almost like saying, fathers are supposed to take care of their children. So why should we have a Father's Day? Why should we even go visit and celebrate our fathers, not just on Father's Day, but throughout the year? Because that's what a father is supposed to be doing anyway. Or take, for example, children. Children are supposed to take their behind the school and sit there and learn and do their work. So when a child brings home a report card and it has A, you don't give that child no reward. You don't reward that child with $50. You don't give that child praise, because that child is just doing what they are supposed to do anyway, what they're expected to do. And it sounds like that's what John is saying. A lot of men think that. But like I was alluding to a few minutes ago, how you go to some communities and you talk to men, they have a different perspective. They say, no, I want the best, not only for my child, but for the mother of that child, because I understand the importance of family, So we're talking about different things here. I think what John is talking about is just the very nature of a woman having a womb and, just the purpose of reproducing, right? But we're talking about, I think I'm speaking from a different context of something that is much more significant, that relates to family. I've made a video about this before, and to me it's alarming how far we've gotten away from the importance of family. Healthy, not dysfunctional families, not broken families, but a healthy family unit. Which means, yes, we stick together. It's like people talk about, bromance or brotherhood, we gotta have a sisterhood, we gotta be tight. But that's still the division, There's nothing wrong with sisterhood and brotherhood, and we bros, man. I look out for him. That's my bro. You, in a sense, that's worshiping, right? You're worshiping this relationship you have with your bro. Same thing with sisters. That's my homegirl. I'll do anything. I'll kill for her. That's, you're worshiping, you're valuing this relationship that you have with your sister. But something seems to go wrong when we cross over the genders, right? When we cross over the genders and we're talking about male-female interaction within the Black community, and we have a person trying to promote this interaction and this unity between Black men and Black women, and Black men are like, wait a minute, slow down, too fast. No. I don't think that Black women deserve. That's what it sounds like, what I'm hearing. I don't think Black women deserve to be treated like they're goddesses and like they're queens. That's what he said. That's what John commented. He's in the first person, like I said. I've done these videos many times and, post on YouTube and get comments on my YouTube channel a lot. I think I get hell a lot more comments on YouTube than I do on Facebook, where you got men that they're just telling the truth. They're speaking their minds and they're saying, slow down, because that ain't happening. That's not what we want. We don't think that Black women deserve it. So dial it back to my video, interracial dating, interracial marriage, and I talk about the differences between dating a white man and a Black man. And I put in the context of advantages versus disadvantages of dating both types of groups of people. And men were attacking me. You get what I'm saying? Because I said that I'm open to dating outside my race. And it's for many different reasons, We have to look at the mindsets. It's not about race as it is a person's mindset. You get what I'm saying? So when you see people who are dating interracially, a lot of times people may say, they hate their own race. Perhaps they're drawn to a different race, not because of the race. You know what I'm saying? The phenotype of what you see on the external of that person. They're attracted to that person because of certain characteristics. I've heard this from people. You get what I'm saying? A person just ain't gonna marry a person, because they a different race. That's dumb. That's like marrying a person because they drive a Lexus. You get what I'm saying? It has to be more to the story than that. So you get to meet a person and you try to see, okay, how do they think differently? You know, what is it about them that I like? You know, people, when it comes to love and intimacy, right? People usually attract people, like-minded people, people that fit within the way that they think, the way that they operate. You're not gonna be attracted to somebody who don't kind of fit within your schematic way of thinking. You know, they don't fit within your program. They coming in. It's like you meet this person, right? And yeah, they externally might have what you're looking for. You might be attracted to them, but if they don't fit, you get what I'm saying, within your program. How is it going to be a fit? If it doesn't fit, you're not going to be with that person anyway. So when you see interracial couples, it's like it's a fit. You know, maybe she has a certain ideology or perspective that this man is able to complement. If you see a black woman with a white man, and people, like, you know, they just assume, right? They just jump to conclusions and they say, oh, she hate black men. She don't love herself. Because if she loved herself, she would date black men. But sometimes it just boils down to what's in the person's mind. You know, and if you have a lot of black men who don't think that black women are worth being taken care of, are worth providing for, because somehow maybe that's their excuse, that's their defense, right? Because if black men are in a position where they're unable to provide, you know, they don't have the means. Apparently, a lot of black men are struggling. They cannot take care of their kids. They can't take care of themselves, let alone take care of their kids. These black men are struggling financially, and it's not to blame them. You know, yes, they have a responsibility despite racism and discrimination, right? That's happening in our society. But the truth of the matter is, they can't take care of themselves. So a child comes into the picture, and it's like hate all over again. You know, it's a cycle repeats itself. Like, here I am. I grew up a child born to a family, not even a family, a broken family, at least. Born to a mother who is single, who feels abandoned, who has hatred and bitterness in her heart towards a man. And, you know, I'm mad at her as a child because she doesn't get along with my dad, and I want to see my dad. And then this same child grows and develops and become a man that now hates black women. You guys see it. It's spelled out right in front of your face. Look at this video. Look at the comments. It's spelled out right here in front of your face. And I know a lot of people may say, oh, well, you know, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. You're right. We are all entitled to our own opinion. So if a black man don't think a black woman is worth it, then look, you guys, the picture is crystal clear. You know, it's like the picture is crystal clear. You see why there are so many people, black people, crossing over, because it's just not the tables. Things aren't adding up. The tables have turned. Things are not adding up, you know, for black people as they should. We're already talking about a dysfunctional society, and we're talking about this black family unit in the place in the middle of a dysfunctional society that's surrounding the black family. That's what you get. You get broken families. Children growing up in single parent households where there's hate and bitterness, you know, and feelings of abandonment. Those feelings are internalized. These men grow up to become black men that hate black women. And they themselves date outside their race, you know, because they provide this rationale. This is how they interpret it. Black women, not worth my commitment. Because when we talk about marriage, you know, and you're talking about building a family and a man's responsibility to a woman, because that's what you're talking about, John, a man's responsibility to a woman, and how it's crazy for a woman to expect this responsibility. You're saying a man's only responsibility is just to impregnate her, you know? She wanted a child. Don't blame the man, you know, if he don't want to be with her. It's like, don't put that burden on the man. And it's like, I think somehow it's going over your head. You're missing it. You know, we're talking about family here. And I think, like I was telling single black women who are approaching a black man and considering the idea of dating, you know, just keep that in mind that a lot of men don't think you're worthy of that investment. They don't think that the black woman is worthy of marriage, anything beyond putting a child in them, you know? If you go into a relationship, both people, not just a woman, because a woman has expectation that, okay, he's my prince and charming, he's going to take care of me, he's going to take care of the family, he's going to be as a man. That's a template. That's a healthy template for a relationship. She has expectations, but then he has this idea that, no, that's not how it's supposed to be. I have the right to choose who, if anybody, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, because that's how they see them. That's how they make themselves feel valuable, right? If you think about it, at the end of the day, there are like 8 women to 1 man. You know, so men feel like they're a little bit privileged that they can do that. They don't have to be with one woman. They can jump from woman to woman as they feel, you know, because they can, essentially. You know? So you have a situation where women are exposed or faced with these black men, whether is real or imagined, whether these are real black men that she encounters or she has this perception based on what she's been exposed to from other relationships, you know? She's seeing it for herself that black men, generally speaking, are not committing to the responsibility of building a family. It's not about, oh, commit to a woman. It's about committing to the family unit. Black men are not going in with that perspective. And a black woman sees that, then it's no surprise she's going to consider her other options would be dating outside of that particular culture. You know, if you have a majority of people within a certain culture who have this certain belief and way of doing things, right? That's their way of doing it, because that's just how it's done in hip hop culture. You get what I'm saying? It's no surprise that she's going to be motivated, going to be propelled to say, well, let me see how things are done in other cultures. It's not to say white men ain't doing the same thing, but we know there's so many different factors that play into this whole situation. And a lot of times, yes, a person's socioeconomic status, their amount of income, their ability to be able to provide for a family is an important factor. How can you expect black men to take care of a family, to nurture and value the concept of a family? That's a responsibility. What you're asking a man to do is to say, hey, take on this added responsibility. You already met with the burden of being a black man in society and your life being threatened, because we know black men are targeted by the police way more than any other group of people. So now you're asking this man, who's basically an endangered species, essentially, to take on this responsibility of having a family. That's a higher level thinking, especially in our society that we live in. We don't live, you know, in a third world country. So to survive, you have to have money. You know, this is a more developed, as they call it, more advanced level of society that operates much differently. And yes, one can look at that as a contributing factor, but this is the reality. The reason why we're not so much focusing on that, because we don't have much control over that. How many years have black people complained about the system? The system is consistent, da 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 da. It's like, yes, the programs are set in place in response to black people protesting. You have NAACP, affirmative action, different things like that, you know, even the welfare program. But how beneficial are those programs anyway to help in the African American community? At the end of the day, It's black people who have to take responsibility. It's black men who have to step up and fight. Black men are not stepping up and fighting. They're not. They're fighting each other. It's infighting, but they're not fighting the system. They're fighting it passively, but not proactively. You get what I'm saying? Sometimes, yes, that means losing your life. Our fight it looks more like resistance, which is still a fight, but it's not an aggressive fight, towards really bringing about change for black people. We have to really move smart. We have to think smart. And when black men say, oh, the black woman just expects a black man to do this, they feel entitled. You're not entitled to a man's lifeblood because you just bear a child. And it's just like, oh, that's sad. How far have we gone away from how things are supposed to be? He's essentially saying a woman should not be entitled to a man committing to her for life. These are men who don't want to commit to a black woman. They don't think that that's a standard for them. That's not a standard. That's not something they're obligated to do. It's like, I don't have to commit to you. All you is just, that it speaks to the devaluance of the black woman in the African American community. He say men and women gonna always disagree on this topic because women are continued. He say because women. So he's pointing the blame to women because he doesn't feel men have as much control. Men in our society are not alpha men, black men specifically. A lot of black men are not alpha men. They don't feel like they have control. And it's no surprise because what has been taken away from black people? Our sense of identity, our sense of control, our sense of power. He said black women continuously take and give nothing in return and then believe they should be worshipped like some kind of goddess. He said black women take from black men. They give nothing in return. Wow. Wow. I'm not even a mother, but I have to speak for all mothers, black mothers. Giving a baby is giving a lot in return. I think sometimes like the way we conceptualize this thing is, a black woman is taking from a black man because she's gotten pregnant. It's like, damn. Maybe because I don't watch TV. I'm not caught up in, the stuff that a lot of people are caught up in. So I make myself immune to the brainwashing of society. There is a brainwashing of society through the media that promotes these images. People accept them, they digest them, and they just live with them. Me, I'm not exposed to that stuff. So my mind is a little bit archaic in the way I think. It's more of a naturalistic way of thinking that and seeing him say that's sad. For him to say, wow, when a black woman bears a child, she gives a man a child, that's nothing. He sees it as nothing. I'm like, wow. Just sit with that. Think about that for a minute. It's nothing. If anything, it's a burden. It's becoming a burden. Like I said, these issues are not just specific to the black community. Last night I actually went to a comedy show hosted by Kevin Hart here in LA, and one of the comedians made a joke, about how, essentially saying how a child is a burden and how men make the joke all the time. So it's not just a black thing. Black men don't want to, take this responsibility, but they're making like this and making it more of a normal standard thing, right? Like they're trying to normalize the idea of absentee fathers, I think. They normalize it. It makes it like it's normal. It's normal for men to, it's like kids, they found out positive pregnancy tests. Oh no. It's like, oh no, positive pregnancy test, you know? And then you laugh about it, you make jokes about it, and they run away from responsibility. And it's not really a joking matter. You know, we can joke. Yes, it's fun. It's good to laugh at life, right? But I think it's a different thing when we have propaganda. Like, it's purposeful media that is created to distort the minds of people, of individuals, you know, groups of people, so that it does become the norm across our culture, within American culture, that marriage is just this thing that you look down upon. They continuously promote these messages. You know, even in the comedy show last night, or like, how many married people out here, you know, and then the comedian makes a joke, and he basically promotes a message within his joke to say that married couples are sad. You know, they're sad, they're unhappy, basically trying to make negative associations with being married. And if you promote that image in front of millions of people, this is a comedy show. It was an in vivo comedy show that's going to air on television. So we're talking about millions of people are going to see this show, and they're promoting these messages, making the negative association of marriage to this life of misery and dread. Then looking at take the single people in the audience, whether they are white or black, and they're looking at this thing, and they're like, damn, maybe I don't want to get married. You know, maybe marriage is not worth the commitment. So what is it doing? Is breaking down the family unit. Is that the direction our society wants to go? We don't value family anymore. I mean, I make these topics, right? I talk about these sensitive issues because I see firsthand what a breakdown in a family, the family unit, can cause on an individual. You know, a person growing up in a dysfunctional family. I work with this every day, you guys. So this is what I do, you know, and I see is a difference. You know, I know that it's like preaching to the choir. You guys are hearing this message over and over again, but you see what it does. And I think it's a blessing for black men to be very bold and to say how they truly feel regarding the black woman. And, you know, it's eye-opening, but it's just sad. I think it's disheartening to see that black men, you know, generally speaking, yes, we have the special ones out there, the very unique black men, which I consider to be the minority of black men who do value black women, who say, you know what, I think this black woman deserves the world because that's how I was raised. You know, my father laid the foundation for me as a child growing up, where I learned that at a very early age because it was ingrained in my subconscious mind to know that there is value in a woman, no matter the race, value in a woman, value in human beings. When you have people that look at when you have people that look towards other people in a negative manner, you should ask yourself, what is going on with them? Don't be so quick to accept it and say, oh, yeah, they ain't shit, you know, or that, yeah, this is just how I think. No, look at that person to figure out what is going on within that person. What has that person experienced to develop this negative attitude towards women, you know, specifically black women, the women that he's been exposed to, you know? It's very unfortunate. Black men don't think black women are worth it. They marry white women. I made a video about why black men marry white women and make black women baby mamas, single mothers. There's a reason for that, you guys. It's a reason. It's a reason for everything. It's a reason for that. Why do black men have this, create this stereotype and then reinforce the stereotype that black women are loud and argumentative, all these negative attributes that they assign to black women? Ain't much different than slavery and how white people would see black people, just negative. You got nothing positive to say, just negative, instead of finding the value in it. So obviously, we see a divide. This is kind of like a replay of the Willie Lynch letter. First, it was dividing blacks against whites. Now it's really separating within the black community, black men from black women, black people separating black people from each other, pitting black people against each other. That's what this thing is really about. It has evolved from just white versus black. This ain't white versus black no more. Our struggle and our fight is against trying to unite the black community. What we fail to realize is that it starts within the family. Trust and believe, if we have more intact families, we will have a stronger black community. It starts small, at the small individual family level. And that's why I wanted to focus on the family unit and what happens when you have black men and black women who part ways, and why do they part ways? And what happens to the child, the effect that it has on a child when a black child, specifically a black male child, is raised by a single black mother who's bitter, who hasn't come to terms, with what has happened. It's a traumatic experience. When a man leaves a woman, I know y'all like to, black people, we just want to be strong, right? We have to. That's a survival mechanism. That's a defense mechanism, to be strong, to have this exterior that we're strong, right? So we don't, black women, you might even not hear no black women complaining about an absentee father. They're like, child, please, I don't need him. I'm good. Me and my baby good. That's a defense mechanism. Black women gotta be strong to say that, no, I'm hurt. I'm feeling weak. I'm feeling down. I'm feeling betrayed. I have bitterness. I have anger in me. To say that is to defend against it. When I work with clients in therapy, and they have all these defenses because they don't want to change. It's much easier to keep things the way they are because that's how you've learned to adapt. That's how you've learned to function dysfunctionally, So to kind of undo those layers, to kind of undo that programming that you've been succumbed to, unfortunately, it takes work. It's difficult. It's painful to look at yourself and say, wow, this is how the divorce affected me. This is how the separation from my child's father affected me. It's so painful to admit for a black woman to say that, to say, I'm hurting inside. It hurts me that he left. It hurts me that I have to do this alone. It hurts me that he doesn't think that I'm valuable enough to marry, to commit to give his life blood to. It's difficult for a black woman to say those things, to admit those things. Not only to herself, but especially to him. It's difficult for a black woman to say, I'm hurt. It hurts me that I have to do this alone. My child is going to grow up without a father in the household. It's different, to not have a father in the household versus a child, who does have a father in the household. It's much different. It pains a mother to say that. It's much easier, you guys. It's much easier to put that defense up and say, I'm good. I don't need his bitch ass. He ain't shit no way. And devaluing him, it elevates her. It makes her feel good. Do you guys see the dysfunction? I want to continue this video. I don't even want to press finish because I want to make sure you guys understand this. Do you see what's happening? Do you see what is happening now? It's a cycle. She develops this exterior, this defense. I don't need no man. I don't need him. To self-medicate herself, to make herself feel good. That's her coping mechanism. When you see black women say that, that's a coping mechanism. When you see black men say, girl, he ain't shit, that's a coping mechanism to make themselves feel better because they're dealing with pain on the inside. Wouldn't it be better to prevent that defense, to prevent that kind of reaction, to prevent that kind of situation from happening? If a black man, it starts, of course, with the woman's father, but love can be very healing. And if a black man really loved a woman, even whether she had a father in her life or not, but he valued a black woman so much to the point where she didn't have to develop this negative reaction towards a black man for abandoning her, for not being there. There's ways this stuff can be prevented. You don't have to go that route, you guys. But we're so hard. We, over time, have been conditioned because of slavery, because of Jim Crow and the civil rights and all the shit black people still going through today. We've been conditioned to be strong. It's like, who has time to pause and to really take care of yourself? Not just externally getting your hair and makeup done, wearing nice clothes, buying Gucci bags, keeping up with the Joneses with your iPhones. I wouldn't say that's necessarily taking care of yourself. I'm talking about taking care of your mental health. How many black people really have the time to really take a pause and to look at themselves and to really be honest enough with themselves to say, yes, I'm hurt, to admit it? We can't. To admit it is to be vulnerable, essentially, to put yourself at a greater risk for it happening again in a lot of people's minds, right? But no, I think we have that defense because it serves a purpose in the context of white supremacy and racism. So we ain't got time to be sitting here getting all touchy-feely and emotionally, when you got black people perceive themselves as like an endangered species and under attack by the system. Who got time to be all, mushy and filly with stuff, and really taking the time to be vulnerable. Black people I think black people feel they cannot afford to be vulnerable, to go there. So they're like, you know what? I have to develop this hardness. I have to be strong. Because they don't want, black people are so afraid of slavery happening again. It's like that energy. Remember I was talking about the energy in the beginning? That energy that is within black people is still there within our ancestors. It's still there. And black people, we can be called any name in the book. They can do whatever they want to us. But one thing black people say that they're not going to allow happen is slavery again. So that defense is up. And we have to know and take consciousness and awareness of when that defense that is really meant towards the system of white supremacy is being put up against each other. You know what I'm saying? We have to know, and it's hard, I think, that we have to cut off that defense mechanism when we're relating to ourselves, but automatically it happens. It happens on a subconscious level. Defense mechanisms are subconscious, so you don't even know, you're not even aware unless you pause and take an awareness. That's why mindfulness activities are so important in meditation and yoga, because it brings you to a greater awareness of yourself and your thoughts and your feelings and your behaviors and what you're doing. You take note of yourself, take a look at yourself. Sometimes it's so painful, right, to look at ourselves to see how we are responding to our environment, how we are interacting with each other, how we treat each other. Sometimes black people don't even realize that we will smile and say hello to a white person, black person walk by, and we have immediately this defense that comes up. Why is that? Why do black people have this defense mechanism around each other? that comes up, but we feel like we can let our guard down when we're around white people. We feel like everything is all safe. It's like that's the reason why black people will go and live in a white neighborhood because psychologically they've been conditioned to believe that white means good, white means safety and security, and being around black it means violence, it means danger, you know. So we try to stay away from that. And if we are around it, we become skeptical of it. Like you can have a black person, lecturer, prime example, Dr. Lamar Johnson, psychologist, wants to open a school for African American boys to prevent what I'm talking about. This very topic of black men growing up to hate their mothers. He wants to prevent this cycle, to break the cycle. We're always talking about, oh, we need more black people doing stuff for the black community. Nobody wants to help the black community, but here we have a black man who has the training, who has the certification, who has the knowledge and the wherewithal to bring about change, even if it's on a small level and eventually it progresses. You got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere and then you go big. But we have this man who wants to interrupt this cycle, this dysfunctional cycle of abuse and do something. And his work is mainly specifically targeted towards African American boys. And you got people that are trying to interrupt that, black people. Because we think that a white Jesus is better. We think the white ice is colder. The moment a black man come up and try to do something, people are looking at this man like he's a scam. You know, it's the same thing with black business. You own a black business as a black person. It's just used to experience the same thing. Black people look at you like you scamming, you know, but take their money to a white business and be like, oh, they're legit just because of the race. So we have to really take some time to do some introspection, to really get to the root of the problem, you know, and to understand that you can't blame the white man for everything, you know. We have to really take a look at the role that we play. Every individual has a role and plays a role. What are you doing to feed into the dysfunctionality within the home environment, within the black community? This can be prevented. You know, it's not, I think, for black people, it's much easier when we start to talk about, I think this is the thing, when black people start to talk about our issues, right? And we start to talk about things that we need to do and things that maybe we're doing wrong. A common response you'll see in black people is, oh, that's whitewash. You know, oh, you taking a white people's side. And it's like, no. But we've been so conditioned by white supremacy. It's like everything black people say, you think is filtered through the white man's lens, and it's not. You know, this is just black people speaking apart from white supremacy. You know what I'm saying? Apart from the greater dominant context in which we live in. This is just us speaking, period, saying to ourselves, hey, we need to get it together. You know, there's some things that we can do better. You know, take own responsibility. When you own responsibility, you give yourself, you take back control. Don't look at it as a burden. I think if black men saw parenthood and family and marriage as ownership, as power and control, as opposed to a burden, more black men would commit to that. They wouldn't see it as, oh, she's sucking the blood out of me. She's sucking the life out of me. You wouldn't see it that way. I wonder what is it within black female-male interaction that makes black men feel like a woman's desire to commit to them long term is them sucking the blood. Perhaps a male's resistance to the family unit, resistance to being a father, resistance to being a mother is only a reflection of their resistance to white supremacy. They're so used to resisting, they don't even know what and when to resist. They're just resisting, you know? And it's just like, come on. Actually letting your guard down around black women and not resisting, you're safe in a black woman's hands. You're very safe in a black woman's hands. So don't think that a black woman is out to get you. I think that's sad though when you hear those kinds of statements. Hear black men thinking and speaking that way as if black women are out to get them. They trying to destroy them. They ain't no good. She's like, that is exactly what the Willie Lynch letter is all about. That's what they wanted us to do. And it's like mission accomplished for them. You know, they wanted us to attack each other. My mission and goal is to find ways that we can unite and bring ourselves together. You know, and yes, of course, I'm a very firm believer of the black family unit. I'm a very big advocate of it. And I think that it's important. I feel like black men have this warped perspective, European perspective of the family, and look at it like black women are some objects that can just dump their sperm in, you know, but we don't need that in our community. We need unity. We need support. We need love, forgiveness, all of that. I can go on and on and on and on and on and on with this topic because I always feel like when I get ready to end it, I feel like I miss something. So even if I did miss something, I will come back, of course, with another topic. I always have many topics to talk about, but I just want to encourage you guys just to think about what I said in this video. Think about it deeply before you are quick, because I know immediately if you feel a certain kind of negative, you know, something I say triggers a negative emotion, then immediately your defense goes up and then you want to come and attack me. I've gotten that a lot, and I find it quite interesting though, because man, that just goes to show a lot of people just have a lot of defenses up. You know, you're so defended, you're so guarded, even against the truth. You know, even if it's something that's gonna help you. Black people don't even they're like, I don't know about that. You know, just have this lack of trust, you know, for each other. We gotta do better. And I encourage black men who know and deep down in their heart that they have this hatred towards black women. Then, you know, a lot of black men will not be honest with themselves, you know, and they give excuses for why they shouldn't love a black woman as opposed to reasons for why they hate black women. It's two different things. They give excuses for reasons why they should not love a black woman as opposed to reasons why they hate black women. Two different things. It sounds like it's the same, but it's slightly different. Just be real. Be real and honest with yourself and keep it 100. You know? It's better to be honest and say, you know what, that does exist within me. I do hate black women. I can't stand black women, versus saying, you know what, black women think they deserve this. I don't think they deserve that. It's a reason why you don't think that black women deserve the best. It's a reason why you don't think black women should be worshipped. That's why you call them hoes and bitches. That's part of our culture. That's part of the black culture. We have perfected the degradation of women within our culture. Black people often say, oh, there's no other culture, there's no other race that's more disrespected than the black race, as if, you know, we want to point fingers at white people, everybody else except for who is doing the disrespecting. You know, you have to point fingers at each other, at yourselves. And you have to own it and say, you know what? It's not so much the white men hate black people. I mean, yes, these white people that we see are descendants of the slave masters. You know what I'm saying? So I think the spirit within us, the slave spirit within us, is like, hell no. Don't become friends with them. Don't have nothing to do with white people. But when you think about it, realistically speaking, a lot of white people are not out to get black people. That's not their agenda. You know, their life already set. They already good. They don't have no reason to no more. If anything, you got white men who really want to take the place of black men. They glad to take care of a black woman. They glad to worship a black woman and treat her and to heal her from her pain. They're more than happy to do that. And not only that, be committed to her, but be committed to the child. They're happy to do it because it means it gives them a sense of pride. For them, their understanding of identity is much different than a black person's understanding of identity and well-being. And for them, it gives them a sense of identity, to have a family, to procreate, to leave a legacy. They understand the value of that. They understand the importance of that. They're not threatened. We have to bring that into the picture too, because white people overall are not threatened. Their family structure is not threatened. So they can go out and create families and love each other, whereas black people, ours has been threatened. Yes, it has been threatened to the point where people are afraid. Black people subconsciously are afraid to love each other. It's like a crime. It's a crime for a black man to look at the black woman as a goddess, to see the beauty in her, to see the strength and the power in her, to see the value in her. If black men valued black women, they would not throw them away as worthless objects to have to depend on a system. And so then it's a cycle that repeats itself. You have black women who are thrown away by these quote unquote no good black baby fathers. That hate is carried out onto their children. The children grow up to hate black women. The same cycle continues to repeat itself. It needs to be broken. It needs to be broken. If black little boys grew up in households where they saw black men, their own father, loving and caring for, appreciating, worshiping, whatever phrase or words you want to use. It's just valuing, essentially, the black woman, his mother. Don't you think he's going to grow up to be that man that also values and loves and appreciates the epitome of a black woman? Despite what's out there in the media, he's going to say, you know what? I see for myself that my father loved my mother so much that he committed to her. He valued her. But it's unfortunate. You got black men that will value a car, a materialistic car that we know breaks down, that we know rusts, that we know becomes outdated and no longer drivable at some point, but will value a car more than they will a black woman. That's bad. That's bad, y'all. Put more value, would treat a black woman as an object to be thrown away. And to say, oh, I did my part. I impregnated her. I created a baby. I did my part. And just that's it. They feel like that's all they got to do. That's it. And why do they feel like that? Because their fathers demonstrated to them that's what a man does. Their father wasn't in their life, so why they gotta be in their child's life? Y'all know the story. Feel free to leave your comments below. I'm gonna go ahead and end this video here because I gotta go get some food. And it's unfortunate. It's a tough topic to address, but I like tackling tough topics. I feel confident in who I am and my personal experiences in life and growing up, that I can have this discussion with you guys. I can talk about this discussion with you guys. I want to have discussions with people who are open-minded, who are honest about it, who are honest and respectful. I get it. A lot of y'all got a lot of baggage When I post my videos, my live Facebook videos to YouTube, and I read the comments and reactions, I'm like, damn, y'all got some shit y'all dealing with. Y'all got baggage. Because I find it quite amazing how I can say something and the way people respond to it and the value that they put on my statements and the way they interpret what I say. I know that it stems from their perspective. Their people's perspectives are shaped by their personal experiences. So based on how a person responds to my comment, my posts in their comments, I can tell, I can get an idea of some of their experience, their personal experiences in life, just based on what they say. Y'all gotta know, I do this. I do it for a living. I do this for a living, you guys. I'm always studying, analyzing human behavior. That's what I do. And what I'm seeing is that a lot of black men, y'all, a lot of black men are just like, black women ain't worth it. You know, they ain't worth it. Yeah, the pussy might be good because they know the value of the black pussy, right? They know that, and they know the importance of procreating to keep the black race going, to keep it alive so that we don't become an endangered species or extinct species. You know, they know that purpose. So kudos to black men for still knowing the importance of reproducing, that you got to drop those seeds. That's so important. If you don't, you stop dropping those seeds and impregnating black women, then the black race is no more. So at least they love and value the black race enough to do that. But can you love and value the black race above that? I know it's hard, man. I don't know what it's like to be a black man. I'm not one. I know what it's like to be a black woman, and that I face my own struggles living in America. You know, it's been hard for me. Even with a bachelor's degree and master's degree, you know, I face my struggles. I only can imagine what it's like for a black man. I know there have been times where I've been pulled over by police driving in Florida, and I was doing, you know, I was breaking the law, speeding, you know, and a white officer let me off. Can I say the same thing? Can a black man say the same thing? I don't know if that kind of outcome would happen for a black man, you know. So I know that there are differences between the experiences of black men and black women. And sometimes it may be difficult for black women to understand what a black man is going through. That's why we need y'all to open up. We need y'all to open up and talk. Come on, talk to us, black men. Talk. Talk to us. Don't attack us. Just, I know it's hard. It's hard. This is a hard thing for me to ask of you guys to do, I think. It really is. It's hard to get black men, black people, period, to just not attack each other, you know, because that's how we feel. When a person has this chaoticness that's going on inside their head, right? Their life, you know, is in shambles. You have to get it out some kind of way. So when you see a person and go in on a comment, you know, and then they're attacking verbally, it's just like, they got some stuff going on, man. They got some stuff going on. So it's not that I'm trying to shut y'all down and say, oh, Nick, hey, no, don't do that, you know, because you got to get it out, right? That's just you getting it out. But I really want you guys to have enough restraint to be able to breathe and to be able to come from a perspective where you are actually being authentic. You're actually being honest about how you feel, you know? And if you hate the black woman and that's the only thing you can come up with, then that's good. I appreciate either way. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. I know the truth is very painful to hear a lot of times because it is, you know? I think we would rather like to be entertained and to laugh, and that's good, you know, but to really take the time to have these kinds of discussions that's going to elicit these negative feelings. And although I'm saying things that may make you feel uncomfortable, I am not the person to attack, you know, as I didn't do it to you. It's just a word, uh, which is a trigger for you. And it's based on certain learned behaviors, or certain learned conditions that you've experienced, that you've been shaped by, that allow you to react in such a way. So I know it's hard, you guys. I know this is hard. It's hard for me to even end this video talking to you guys. I know it is, but I think, we're moving. We're gonna be moving. We're moving as a community. We're moving as a group of people. I know it feels like we're stagnated. Black people, we're not going nowhere. Things are just gonna get worse. That's not the case. We're moving. We're advancing. We're stronger than people may think. That's why they make movies like Black Panther. We are a strong race of people, but there's always room for improvement. There's always ways that we can be better. So even though we're great, we're taking care, of ourselves, there are a lot of us who have families. Our families are intact. They're not dysfunctional. We're happy. We're living. We're productive citizens of society. Yes, always ways to improve, and that's where I come in, you guys. Like, I just want the best for the Black community and find ways that we could grow and become better families, better people, better couples, better communities. So thank you guys for your input, and I will catch you guys later. Bye bye.